How to deal with someone who says that's so gay. Outsmart them.
This party is like so gay.
Totally.
Excuse me, but did you ladies know the word gay used to mean happy or excited? Then it became a word used to describe gay people. Then somehow it came to mean dumb or stupid, which is how you just used it, which is not very nice.
Ew, that guy is on the football team and super smart, and he totally hates us now.
Totally.
When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off. Learn more at thinkbeforeyouspeak.com. Brought to you by Glisten and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a successful motivational speaker and trusted life coach, Nancy knows how you can live the life you want regardless of the challenges you face. Although she's legally blind, Nancy's mission is to inspire others to overcome obstacles and live life full out. Call in at 800-333-0001 to ask Nancy for advice on topics such as relationships, finances, business, health, and more. Just call 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome to the Living Full Out Show. I hope everyone's having a really, really great day. You know, it's one of those times, an hour like this, where we can really tap into getting motivated. I look forward to it each week to spend my time with you, and together we grow. Together we live our lives full out. Now, today we're going to be talking about taking control back in our lives. You know, sometimes life just washes over us, and sometimes it's in a great way, and other times it can be crisis, trauma, drama, and everything in between. And when those times happen, you really need to tap into your inner strength, you know, harness those survival skills and do what it takes to move yourself forward. You know, action is one of those words that I talk a lot about with my coaching clients, because in order to move yourself forward in life, you have to be willing and able to take action. And sometimes that can be very scary. And so for anybody who's listening today that has a question that's keeping you up at night or is heavy on your heart, this is the time to call in. You can reach us at 800-333-0001, 800-333-0001. I know for myself, over the years, I've had various times where I just felt almost cut off at the throat because I didn't know how I could even vocalize my fears, vocalize my anxiety. You know, when people are going through financial stress, relationship stress, health issues, you know, all of that has the ability sometimes to make us put labels on ourselves. You know, I may be visually impaired, legally blind, but that's just a sliver of who I am. It does not define who I am. If you have a trauma in your life, a financial distress, again, a relationship that went sour, you know, don't let that influence your ability to evolve and grow and have a life full of abundance and your ability to live full out. But in order to do that, you know, words can sometimes be very easy just to throw out there, right? It's really easy to be optimistic and tell everybody, oh, I'm fine, everything's going to be okay. But really, it's behind closed doors. It's the actions that you do inside your home, how you talk to yourself. That's what I want to focus on today so that you can get control back in your life. We're going to go to the phone lines now. Welcome. We have Susan. Welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you for calling. Tell us what's going on today.
Well, I'm calling because there's been changes in our family over the last several years, and I really love the holidays, and there may be some changes again happening this year and or in future years, and I'm trying to be supportive of the family that may or may not be around, but at the same time, like, I find having that family time that I've kind of made very important, you know, if that starts to taper off, I feel like that's kind of a foundation for me, and I just don't want to lose that. And so I'm stuck between being supportive, but you know, and supportive for a family member that may not be around, but at the same time, like I said, I think once you start to kind of have gaps, you know, where where you're pulling away from what might be tradition, those gaps can become bigger, and there can be less of a tradition and a less of closeness that, I find to me is really, really important. So I'm not sure what advice you would have, but just kind of tugging on my heartstrings and just wanted to see what your thoughts were.
Well, it's a great question. One of the things that I have a question for you is the people that are in your life right now, are those people that you see on a daily, weekly basis, the people that you turn to most, are those people that you see every week?
Half and half.
Okay. So let's just go with your closest relationships, whoever's in your most inner circle. Are those people, if you had to really quantify, are most of those people you see every day, every week, or most of those people that are remotely?
One person is who I see daily, and everyone else is remote.
Okay. How do you keep those relationships strong? How do you stay so intimately connected to those people?
On the phone and by the get-together time that we spend when we're together.
Gotcha. Okay. And some of those people, I'm just guessing, are people that you see around the holidays or,
Correct.
Major events. Okay.
Correct.
So, one of the things that you really want to look at is, the way that you develop your relationships, the way that you keep yourself close to people, even if holidays change, even if traditions change, you can still have that closeness. You just have to get creative, okay? And sometimes we're, I don't want to say forced into, but we evolve into creating new traditions. And I'm just wondering, has any new chapters of your life occurred for you in recent months or year?
Well, I don't necessarily create new chapters because I know some of the people that, are at the family gathering, let's say at Christmas. I feel like sometimes I make, I wouldn't say sacrifices, but I guess to some degree to, be there for them, and so I don't know.
Do you have fear around the fact that if you don't see them, that you may become more distant?
Well, no, but it just takes one Christmas, and then it's another Christmas, and it's not like a matter of not being close. It's just a matter of, I think, being able to spend holidays, that kind of family feeling that I've always had. Like, I would love to keep that.
Well, so here's what you do. You just continue to vocalize how much you want to keep those traditions in place and hope that the others will meet you halfway, if not all the way. There's so many times in our life when people pass away and, of course, traditions change, or people get divorced, traditions change. And especially for all the kiddos listening in the world when their parents get divorced, that's just kind of how life is. But, the best thing you can do is stay true to your connections, to try to do what you can to keep those family members together. Outside of that, if change does roll your way, which it just does whether we like it or not, you want to find ways to maintain those same traditions, even if they may be off by a couple of days, So just really about getting creative, but most of all, who doesn't want to hear in their life that they're going to be missed? Who doesn't want to be told, I really, really, really want to see you, right? So, put your heart out there. Make your voice heard. And, you might be surprised. Nothing may change. Everything may change. But if you can just kind of embrace that change and find a way to still bring that balance, I think you'll still be happy. I think you'll still be satisfied.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So thank you so much for calling in and keep us posted on the holidays.
I will. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
So Susan actually brings up a great point. You know, when change starts to occur in our life, when we feel as though everything that we've counted on is changing, that can be very scary. It can be very concerning because a lot of times the unknown is a fearful place to be. You know, if you've relied on certain people to be in your world and you count on them being there, what happens when they're not there? You know, I know my dad died about 3 years ago, and, you know, I used to go up to Washington once or twice a year, and I have a stepmom and half sisters, and sad but true, I haven't seen any of them in 3 years. Now, that is something that I want to work towards. That's something that I want to figure out how I can keep that side of my family together. And what I do to kind of keep those relationships connected is I call them weekly, monthly, as much as I can to stay involved in their relationships. If you find that, you know, there's a divorce or maybe someone moved away, you know, like with Susan's situation, you just need to get creative. You need to maintain those relationships by reaching out to those folks. But we all have the control inside us to be able to put ourselves out there. Sometimes it's kind of weird to say to somebody, oh, I miss you. Oh, I love you. Oh, I miss our times together, because you don't know, maybe they're just fine. Maybe they're not missing you as much as you're missing them. But my thought on it is to live full out means to put heart and passion into everything that you do. Live passionately. Bask in those relationships. Harness those relationships. Really do everything you can to vocalize to people each and every day how much they mean to you and how much you want them in your world. Now, it's interesting because coming up in our next segment, we have a very special guest. Her name is Joan Brock, and she will be sharing with us her story of how truly control got lost for her. Lost in many ways. And that will make more sense when we come back. But I want you to listen to her story and listen for the lessons of how she dealt with grief, how she dealt with her life spinning out of control. I promise you she'll have the best attitude of, of someone who went through what she did. And as you go through the rest of the show, I want you to think about, what is it that you need in your life? Where do you need to give up control? And where do you want to get control back? We'll be right back after this break.
Isn't this dinner party wonderful? Jeanette and Bill did so much planning, and the house looks great.
Well, you know, it was almost canceled. Did you hear that Bill was really sick with the flu 2 weeks ago?
No, I had no idea. I've been so busy at work. But my coworker's toddler was in the hospital with flu, too. Is Bill okay?
It was pretty serious and aggravated his asthma. Bill got sick quickly with a high fever. Fortunately, Jeanette got him to the doctor right away. The doctor said it was flu and prescribed a medication that helped him get back on his feet.
I didn't know flu was so serious until I heard Bill say he felt like he'd been hit by a truck. He missed a big meeting at work.
Well, thank goodness Jeanette had gotten her flu shot. Because, you know, she's expecting.
What? Oh, man.
I guess that was another thing you guys didn't know either.
A message from the Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi. I can't come to the phone right now because I'm abusing my children. Not just verbally, but physically. I'll get back to you.
If only child abuse was this easy to recognize. If you even suspect abuse, call Child Help at 1-800-4A-CHILD or visit childhelp.org. We've helped millions of people help millions of children. All calls are anonymous and confidential, so call 1-800-4A-CHILD or visit childhelp.org. Child Help. Trust your instincts. Brought to you by Child Help and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Today, you hit the snooze bar. You checked your email. You checked your fantasy football team. You rejected an insulting trade offer. You ate your lunch. You did all the things that one normally does the day before a 175-mile-per-hour hurricane blows through your city, leaving it in a state of ruin. You never know when the day before is the day before. Prepare for tomorrow at ready.gov/today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. A professional motivational speaker, Nancy can help you overcome obstacles and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back to the Living Full Out show. Wow, I love that we're taking this time because we're talking about getting control back in our lives, right? Who doesn't want that? Now, I'll tell you what, our next guest coming up, Joan Brock, she is someone that you want to just take a pause in your life and listen to her story, because when I first heard her story, I was thinking, it's pretty amazing, pretty ironic how that all unfolded. But as I heard her story further, what I realized is just the resilience that she had and how she was able to overcome so much loss, but yet still be so humble and so balanced and such a good friend to so many. And that, again, will all make sense as we unfold the story. We will be taking more of your calls later in the show. You can call us 800-333-0001. Again, 800-333-0001. I want to go right to Joan Brock, our very special guest today. Joan, welcome to the show.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you for having me.
Hi. So, my goodness, there's so much to fit in 2 segments, but we'll try.
We've tried to try and get this figured out, and we'll do our best, won't we?
We'll do it. So let's take our listeners back a bit, okay? I'm legally blind, as you know, and so I turn to a lot of resources and a lot of counselors and mentors over the year to help me with my vision loss. And you started your career in that same place, being that source of strength for others.
I did. When I was in my early years after college, one of my first jobs, was working at a school for the blind in the Midwest. And while there, I did a variety of things. Basically, I wanted to make myself as valuable to the school as possible, but I was an average woman, just out there, young woman, and learning all sorts of different things. But I had never worked with blind children. When I married my first husband, he had been working there for 2 years. So I eventually became a certified Brailleist and was working in a variety of capacities at the school. But I was teaching blind children all the way from daily living skills to skills that would work in the community, etc. And I became a representative for the school, going out and speaking to the community about what the school was teaching and how they taught blind children. That's where my career began, with the visually impaired and blind.
Now, that to me, again, I give a lot of credit to those in my life, but, I can't imagine how you dealt with what came next. And again, it's really ironic that your story transpired the way it did. So share with us about your own vision and how that changed.
After 5 years of working and teaching and actually learning from those students who taught me a variety of things, I was dressing my little girl, who was 3 years old at the time, and I couldn't see the pink socks in her drawer. And that was the beginning of what would be my own vision loss. In 3 weeks, I lost it to an autoimmune deficiency that attacked the veins and cells going to the retina. The cones and rods were affected, and that's what gives you your color perception. And in my case, the first thing that started becoming a problem was the perception of color. But oddly enough, it was only 3 weeks before I would lose the majority of my sight. I have macular degeneration, which means central loss. Macular meaning central loss, deterioration loss, of course. And here I was, working at a school for blind children when I went blind. And the doctors really never completely diagnosed why. I'm not the only person in the world where they've had to shrug their shoulders and say, we've never seen this before. But they did do that with me, and it wasn't a real exciting thing to hear that I was the only one they'd ever seen this with, and that it was irreversible. That was very difficult. Mm-hmm. That all said, I very quickly decided, well, I can't just not do something. I'd been teaching blind children for 5 years how to live in a walking, seeing, hearing world. And what kind of an example would I be if I were not to take those skills that I've been teaching and integrate them into my own life? So I allowed myself to wrap my thoughts with a little denial, oh, I'm fine, I can do this, it's no problem. And we put one foot in front of the other and adjusted our lives, and I had all my friends were specialists in the field, and I just kept learning how to live as a blind woman, and it was just saying blind woman was hard for me. That was a huge step for me. But it was a loss. It was the depth of my eyes. I couldn't, it was so surreal. And being at the school, it was very difficult. And yet, I didn't want to think it was difficult.
I'm just curious, Joan. Really, it's a two-part question, but back when you lost your vision, really when it was mostly gone, what kept you up at night at that time? Was it? Yeah.
The hardest part was not seeing my daughter's face and knowing I would never see her face again. How do you comprehend never seeing? It's very complicated and not easy to wrap your brain around that. Again, the denial just kind of helped me through that, because if I focused on that negative side of it, I did go down into the depths of despair, but I never allowed myself to go all the way down. And then I would find something, whether it was my friends or my work at the school. I kept working at the school. They weren't going to fire me, Nancy, for going.
Right. Now that is some job security right there.
Absolutely. But, there was just so much to think about, and there was a lot. Everything took me longer, so I really needed to. My whole day was very busy on top of it, and I was, that's a long time ago, but I think I was totally exhausted, Nancy. But I was also dealing with other autoimmune issues that we didn't know I had, and I had extreme fatigue and some arthritis and some pleurisy where you have trouble breathing, but we didn't piece that all together until the vision loss. And so there were other health issues that I was trying to balance and juggle all at the same time. So
along that journey of losing your vision and being in denial and having to figure out new skills, what do you think it was that really got you through? Was it mainly the support of others, or was there something inside you that kind of kept your fire lit?
Certainly the support of others, because everybody was worried, not only my family and my friends that I worked with, but also the students. I had a student come up to me after I first returned to school. I had been hospitalized for a lengthy period of time when they finally figured out what was destroyed. Not why, but what happened. And he was a little, maybe 9-year-old boy and had prosthetic eyes. And he came up to me and he had a little lisp and he said, Mrs. B, I guess all we can do is hope. And I'm really sorry to hear about your eyes, but we can just hope. Well, little boy, if he could look at me and say that, and he'd never even seen, I just had to go forward with all those, all those people wanting me to succeed. And so that was part of it, but knowing that there were techniques and skills that I could use to go forward positively and productively. Years later, Nancy, I think I finally really did look at everything carefully and realize that sometimes you are really just the cup is half full. Some people believe the cup is half empty, and I've always had a positive attitude, which innately helped me through all of those very difficult times.
Yeah, there's that dangerous question that we have to ask ourselves in life: why me? Did you ever ask yourself that question?
No.
No?
And here's why. In the book that I wrote, I have a chapter called Why Not Me? And I'm not going to get real heavy into a lot of theology or anything here, but I grew up as a preacher's daughter, and I grew up knowing that, or believing that if I were to say, how dare this happen to me? How can this happen to me? Then I was putting myself above everybody that might be listening today, anybody that I might know. I am too good to have something difficult happen to me. And I just knew that this now was what I needed to deal with in my life, and it was my choice of how I was going to do that, positively or productively or negatively. Mm-hmm. And that is a genuine answer, and I didn't know any other way to look at it because of the foundation on which I was raised. So
I actually love that answer, and I think that so many of us listening today can take that to heart. Why not? Why should things not happen to us? And that's really how we grow and we evolve. And, we're going to be going into a commercial break here shortly, but for everybody listening, losing Joan's vision was a big hardship, right? I mean, that was tough, but your toughest heartbreak was actually around the corner, and you didn't even know it. And we're going to be getting to that right when we come back from the break. So stay with us, Joan. And for everybody listening, really open your hearts today a little bit more, a little wider, and let's think about the lessons that we're learning from her story today. We'll be right back.
Matey, how's the fishing this morning?
Shh! You'll scare the fish!
Oh, nonsense. Fishies love the safety pirate. Now tell me, I see you're wearing your life jacket, and that's mighty smart of you. But have you taken a boating safety course?
I have. Now, could you please leave?
So you know to stay alert by not mixing alcohol and boating, don't you?
I do.
But I bet you didn't know it's dangerous to speed on the water. Now, did you, Turbo?
Actually, I knew that.
Well, smarty pants. You seem to know it all, don't you?
Yep. Maybe even more than a safety pirate.
Watch your mouth, sailor!
When you're out on the water this year, make sure you're being safe. Learn the boating rules and watch out for other boaters.
And remember to boat smart. Boat safe.
A message from the National Safe Boating Council.
I want to change some things.
I want the moms where I live to have childcare they can trust.
I want to make sure my little brother and his friends have a safe place to play.
I want to help more kids graduate from high school.
Help more hardworking families learn how to budget and save.
I want more of my neighbors to have access to health care.
Want to make a difference? There are so many ways you can. Help create opportunities for everyone in your community.
I want to change what I see around here.
United Way is creating real, lasting change where you live by focusing on the building blocks of a better life: education, income, and health.
I just want to see more smiles on my sidewalks.
Reach out a hand to one and influence the condition of all. Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. For more, visit United Way at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a trusted life coach, Nancy will help you overcome setbacks and embrace all life has to offer. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Hello, everyone. This is the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari, and can't believe that we're already in our third segment of the show. It's going so quickly, but I'd like to reintroduce to everyone our very special inspirational guest, Joan Brock. And, you know, here's the thing, everybody. Imagine being a teacher at a blind school. That's what you do. You help others, support others, and then what you do happens to you in the sense of losing your own vision and needing to really utilize those skills and go through all the phases of denial and grief that I know I've gone through being legally blind myself. So again, I'd really like to welcome Joan back to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, Nancy.
Absolutely. And Joan, do me a favor. If you can talk a little bit louder so we can all hear you.
Absolutely.
There we go. So, so, you know, all of that, which I can relate, you know, you and I have had many conversations about the cabinets that we've hit, the different ways in which we trip and fall and bang ourselves. And, you know, sometimes losing your vision or going through any health concern, if you can find the silver lining or the joke in there, it makes the journey a little bit more bearable.
Oh, the sense of humor has saved my life.
Absolutely.
Many times. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Now, that wasn't your only heartbreak, though. You know, losing your vision was not your only loss. And, you know, what I thought was so endearing, everybody just kind of catching you up is, you know, losing one's vision is tough. It's really tough. And not driving, not seeing faces, that's just, it's a loss that can't be described. However, Joan's next loss is really the one that you were telling me had the longest impact. Can you share with us what happened next?
Approximately 4.5 years after my vision loss, my husband, we were 36 at the time, began having problems with headaches. He began seeing specialists as well, and eventually, I'm shortening this up a lot, but eventually it was determined that my husband Joe had a very rare cancer of the sinuses, and they had to, they were going to give it their best shot, and he went through a 16.5-hour radical procedure. But unfortunately, the tumor had already infiltrated the brain. He went through chemo and radiation, and 7 months after diagnosis, we lost him to cancer. And when you and I spoke, Nancy, one of the most important things for me during that time, first of all, it was a very long, short 7 months. But as he sat there fighting it as bravely as he could, there were some very important realizations that I had to come to. First of all, my daughter was 8 at this point, and I was a little bit angry and said, this is enough. You know, she became my eyes when she was 3, and now her dad is passed away. And as I sat there by his side, you know, as he was not well and dying, I realized going blind was nothing, absolutely nothing. And I was going to find a way to show her that there was a positive, productive way in which to lead a life, no matter what we had been through. I was going to do it the best way I had no idea what I was going to do or how I was going to show it to her or how I was going to inspire her. I didn't know what I was going to do, but that was it. And at that moment, there was no more room for denial. I really did go blind. Joe really did die. And I had to face that and pull up my bootstraps and get on with it. And many, many days seep in, even today, and it's many years later, where it's very difficult and still very sad. And I think of something might trigger a memory that is very poignant in what we lived. But and I feel very sad. And that's a very normal emotion, I believe, frustration, disappointment, sadness. You and I can mention all sorts of very sad and difficult emotions. I think it's real important that we allow ourselves to go through those moments and yet then stop and heal. But there's one emotion I've never allowed, and I would encourage anyone listening not to allow into their hearts when they've been through loss. And I don't care if you've lost a job, a home in a fire, a spouse, a child, God forbid, many, many kinds of losses. But there's one emotion you cannot allow into your hearts, and that is the emotion of bitterness. Because if you stay bitter, you will not get better.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what was going on during that time period.
You know, Joan, it's just one of those things, and my heart's a little bit crying actually because I can feel the pain. I can feel the amount of loss. And, quite frankly, when people are in that state where they have no control, I mean, it's one thing to lose your vision and then be like, okay, I'm going to put my bootstraps on. I'm going to function as a visually impaired person or a blind person. I'm still going to get it all done. But then to lose your husband and then be thrusted into being a single parent and the unknowns of the future. I mean, how do you not just lose it? How do you not just lose it? How do you not just want to give up? And there's a lot of people listening today, and none of us want anybody to give up, but there's a lot of people that are like waving the white flag right now saying, why me? Why two things?
I think, honestly, Nancy, I think one of the only things I've been able to give advice on, because I'm just an average person out there who had really extraordinary things happen, and I know that. But when I was able to turn to someone and I was able to help them somehow, I don't care if it was listening to them or making a casserole and having somebody take it over to somebody who lost their mother or something like that. If I was helping others, it helped me. Mm-hmm. And that, as you know, I became a speaker like you, and I began being asked to share the story, and I didn't know if it was the right thing to do, for heaven's sakes. I was talking about a lot of very personal things to some degree. Mm-hmm. And was it the right thing to do, share this story? And in the end, as long as the response was such that I felt it did help those, and that's why I ended up, doing what I have been doing for 25 years. But the bottom line is, no matter what you do, and we all have gifts. Some people really are wonderful cooks. I'm not. Now, when that casserole is taken over, trust me, I hope it was edible. Well, my point is, it's important that you find what you can do to not focus on yourself.
Well, and I'm just curious, Joan, because obviously your life has taken some really fantastic turns in terms of your book and having your movie on Lifetime and really the difference that you've made in people's lives. But, if you were to be able to go back in time and not lose your vision, not lose your husband, would you choose that life or the life that you have now, which is the one that's being there for others?
Wow. What a question. I don't think it's my place to even consider that because obviously I can't fathom it. I would not wish this. I'm sure you feel the same way. I would not wish my vision loss on anyone. However, I have had benefits in ways that I could never have imagined, and that is when I meet people, I meet them from the inside out. And it's extra. I don't care what they're wearing. I don't care what they look like. I don't really know how much they weigh. I care if they've had a bath. But other than that, I'm not really I meet people's genuine self. Mm-hmm. And it's extraordinary. Mm-hmm. It is. I think you probably relate to that.
I relate very much so, and it is living life through a different vision, but it's a good one. And you have a very handsome angel up there looking out for you. Who doesn't want that, right? I think go kind of wrapping up today. I mean, one of the things that I found to be so interesting and really awakening to my heart with losing my vision over the years has just been wow, this is really happening. And when I say those words, I don't say those words in a negative way. I say those like, wow, this is really happening. And everybody could say that about themselves. They could look in the mirror and see themselves go gray. They could see family members coming and going. Life just happens. And as you look forward into the future, do you fear more to come? Do you grab it with both hands and embrace the unknown? How has the past brightened your future?
It's strengthened me.
Yeah.
I am not fearful. And if I were, I wouldn't be leading that positive, productive life. And I think that we have to turn to some place in our hearts where we can't be afraid. I don't know. I mean, thank goodness there is no crystal ball. Had you told me this when I was 31 years old, a year before I lost my sight, that this was all going to happen to me, I would have laughed in your face. There's no way we can allow ourselves to look into the future, not to that degree, no.
Yeah.
Being organized and planning, but
Well, you are everything that your book and your movie demonstrates. You're everything and even more. And I'm so happy that there are people like you out there. And I know you're obviously speaking today and you're sharing your story. And I just want you to keep doing that because, as we both know, heartbreak is going to come in all different forms. And it's just grabbing the hands of those around us and kind of connecting and staying in touch that gets us through.
It's been a pleasure being with you and getting to know you, Nancy. So thank you so much, and I wish everybody well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joan. Have a great day.
Okay. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. What a powerful interview. Thank you, Joan, so much. And we'll be coming right back and taking your calls. 800-333-0001. We'll be back.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
You remember that ball game we went to a couple years ago?
Sure.
And how you didn't have enough cash for 2 hot dogs, so you walked with me on your shoulders until we found an ATM? And then when we got back to our seats, we never saw the hot dog guy again.
Well, I don't remember all that.
Yeah, that was an awesome game.
You never know which moments will be the ones they'll remember forever, so take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 1-877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Medical mistakes claim tens of thousands of lives every year. The healthcare community is working on it, but you can help. When you communicate with your doctor, when you ask more questions, you reduce your risk of suffering a medical mistake. Doctors can't answer if you don't ask. Help reduce your risk. Questions are the answer. Learn the 10 questions you must ask. Visit www.ahrq.gov. This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, and the Ad Council.
I'm getting a catcher's mitt.
I'm getting ice skates. I'm getting a devastating flood.
Adults are generous. We're even giving kids global warming, but we can still reduce greenhouse gas pollution. Go to fightglobalwarming.com. Brought to you by Environmental Defense, the Robertson Foundation, and the Ad Council.
There are many sounds in your daily life. Ones that make you smile. Ones that help you relax. And there are some sounds that can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts. Now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you critical information about emergencies in your area. With updates from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know wherever you are. Learn more at ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This is President Barack Obama. In the story of America, the greatest chapters are moments of challenge, when we see people serving their country and one another. Volunteers who step forward into hospital corridors and church basements, along levees and fire lines. And the next chapter is yours to help write. Sign up to volunteer at usaservice.org. That's usaservice.org. Let's renew America together.
A message from Renew America Together, brought to you by the Ad Council.
When living full out, it's about embracing loss. Now, loss is a tough one. It's going to come in different forms, different phases of grief. But when loss does wash your way, take control of the passion in your heart. Take control of those fears that are keeping you up at night, because you do have the ability to put yourself on a track so you can live full out and love life.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a certified life coach, Nancy can help you to overcome challenges and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back to the Living Full Out Show. I'm Nancy Solari, and we are just cruising here through the show, but this is your time to call in and get your questions answered. And again, it's one of those things when I think about Joan Brock's story, and I think about all that loss that she had with her losing her vision and losing her husband, you know, those are some really big pills to swallow. But at the same time, we've all had challenges, right? And we're going through it, and it's never going to end. We're all going to age. We're all going to deal with parents that are going to come and go, and friends are going to come and go. And the best thing that you can do is just hold on tight. Now, not hold on tight in fear, but hold on tight to the passion you have, the love in your heart, the memories. You know, all of that, in some ways it sounds grandiose, but I mean it. You know, for me, losing my vision, it's been just surreal and scary all at the same time. But I hold on to my faith. I hold on to the fact that I have great supporters in my life. And during the times that I've had some dark moments, because we've all had them, you know, being honest, being vulnerable has really been what's got me through. When we try to look good, when we try to say the right things, when we try to, you know, walk out the door like everything's fine, you know, nobody will know those fears in your heart. Nobody will know how to help you. You have to be willing to, I'm not going to say put your heart on your sleeve, but you have to be willing to let people in, let them be your guide when you can't see through the fear, through the danger, through the crisis. We're going to go back to the phone lines. Welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. So tell us, what's going on today?
I am actually calling because I have this, I'm not sure if it's a problem, but I'm sure it is. I tend to, while making decisions about anything, good or bad, or I tend to procrastinate a lot. I generally wait to until the last minute to make decisions of any sort or to act upon them, and then I feel like it works for me often, but then I do miss out on a lot of opportunities, especially related to my career, where I sort of wait to apply for good jobs that come up, wait till the deadline and things. So there is motivation, but I just have no way of actually putting it into action. And basically, I'm just a procrastinator. So
yeah. Well, you know what? Everybody has been, or some people still are today. And that's just, that's just a trait that in time you do want to work on. I mean, when I think about procrastination, I think about it in a couple of ways. On one hand, there's a buy-in for you. Okay, there's a rush that you get from it that is just in you that you like. And maybe it's the sake that you don't know if it's going to work out and you like that rush, or maybe you like to be really, really busy and that 11th hour rush, that's what really, sings to you. But how you feel is one piece of it. There's something about procrastinating and having everything wait till the last minute that really excites you. Now, on the flip side, though, I do have a question for you. Even though that's how you operate and everything works out and there might be this itty-bitty rush going on, how has it been received by others who are perhaps coworkers or maybe people that you might be running late? How has your procrastination affected others in your life?
Okay, first of all, just going back just a little bit to what you said about the rush. No, it doesn't excite me because it's constantly weighing on my mind. It weighs me down. It just weighs me down. It doesn't give me any kind of excitement that I'm pushing it to the end. So it's just something that I get up every day and think about, I haven't done it. And then the second thing about what you said regarding how it affects other people, it's not a good thing. It does not affect them in a good way because everybody is different and people who surround me want an answer more often and it doesn't work for them. So I feel like, yeah, you're right. I mean, when you put it that way, it's probably selfish of me to do that. So. Well,
it's kind of a negative for you because it stresses you out and negative for others because it stresses them out. But, you have the ability to change that. It's just, when I was talking about the rush that you get, it's not a rush like a good kiss or winning an award or whatever. It's not that rush. It's like when sometimes we relish, we don't even know it, but sometimes when we are having a moment of struggle, our bodies actually do feed on that in a little bit of a way. Like to plan things out, it might trick your body like, well, why should I do that? I have 2 days to pack for my trip. Why do I start packing 2 days early? But now, an hour before your trip, you're packing, right? So what you want to do is kind of play a trick on your body, okay? Because it is so programmed for that rush, for that leaving it to the last minute, that it won't let you plan it earlier unless you can do that kind of mind over matter. So what I would recommend, and I tell my clients this as well, is stick to a schedule. I know some people may feel like schedules are restrictive and, I don't want to schedule, but I will tell you what, schedules give you a lot of freedom. And if you stick to a schedule, you will not be a procrastinator as much. And ways that you're going to do that is, for example, when you have a trip, give yourself a deadline. I'm going to pack for that trip 2 days early, 1 day early. It has to happen at the time you schedule it. When people are working out, right, they procrastinate. They're like, I'll go to the gym later. Well, later on you're tired, right? Schedule it out. And same with being on time. Take your iPhone, take your laptop, call somebody, but get there a half an hour early. Schedule it out. And I think that if you do that, it's just going to give you a lot more freedom, and a lot of these anxieties for you and others will go away. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does. And it also makes, career-wise, like job applications, etc., it just makes it so much easier on me to be able to get that done and over with,
You want to go buy a calendar tonight, really start filling it out and put in there everything and anything that makes sense. And because you sound lovely, you're busy, you got a lot going on, But the last thing you want is to disappoint others and disappoint yourself. Life is just too short. So if you take a little bit more planning into it, your life will just be filled with so many more smiles and laughter, and, budget that in.
Yeah. So that makes sense. And especially when you talk about making others uncomfortable, that makes complete sense, because I never really thought of it that way.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is, I don't get that that's who you are. You seem like a good-hearted person. It's just sometimes, our actions have a ripple effect that, once it's in play, we can't take it back. Once we're late, we can't all of a sudden be back on time,
Right. No, you're right.
So keep us posted. We'd love to hear how that schedule goes.
Okay. Well, thanks for your help and pep talk. I'll do that.
Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, wow, I'm telling you, the show went faster than I even imagined. But, keep something in mind, everybody listening today, that we're just human, right? We're just every day trying to do our best. We're just trying to wake up every day with energy in our body, to work out, to do well at work, to love, to make all those commitments that we hold to. And, you're going to have days where you're going to slip. You're going to have days where people are going to pass away. You're going to have days when we're going to get sick. And all you can do is just believe in yourself, believe in your ability to get through those tough moments. I promise you this. If you stay plugged into this show, if you stay plugged into being vulnerable with your family and friends and just being there of support to others, you will be able to get control back in your life. Loss is one of those things where it's just going to happen, but how we digest loss is up to us. If we let it come through our bodies and we hold on to it and we get depressed and we can't get around the bend, well, then that's how you do get sick. That's how you get stressed. That's how you feel hopeless. But you have the ability to not let that restrict you, to not let that be your label, to be your defining future. I believe in everybody very much that they have the ability to control their destiny and move forward. And part of that is plugging into a show like ours. I want to thank everybody who puts the show on at Living Full Out. We got Crystal and Rich here in the studio working hard to man the phones and also make sure that we're meeting our cues. And one of the things that I want to make sure that we also say thank you to are our listeners, because without you, we wouldn't have a show. And it's really important that you understand that calling into the show is this is a community that welcomes that. And if you hear somebody on the show say something that you have feedback for them, you have advice for them, I welcome you to call into the show. This is a community of giving, and we all are working towards living full out together. And next week, we'll have another very inspirational guest coming. I'm going to hold on to who it is because it's very special, and I want to kind of keep you lingering there. But it's very important that if you have questions on today's show or need to get support, do give us a call at Living Full Out, which is 310-909-7800. You can reach me personally at extension 101. Also, check out livingfullout.com. We have all of our shows there for you to listen to so you can continue to get supported. And honestly, what I think is so fantastic about a moment like this, the show we've had today, is we had Susan at the top of the hour really wanting to keep her family together, desperately wanting to maintain those traditions. I think that's great. Who doesn't want that? We have our very special inspirational guest, Joan Brock, who went through losing her vision, losing her husband. But today, her vision for her life is not dark. It's brighter than ever. And then our last caller who's procrastinating, well, who hasn't been there? It's about keeping that schedule. It's about knowing that you have the control, put yourself on a positive path. It's just scheduling, holding to those commitments, and once again, always thinking about others and how our actions can impact others. I want to say thank you very much for listening to the show today. We'll be back next week, and have a great day.